I'm Howie Silbiger, your political hitman here on Israel News Talk Radio. We have a great show for you. Great show. We are live, which means that you can go to israelnewstalkradio.com and you could click on that big orange button on the top of the page that says chat room, and you could join us live in the chat room. We also have phone numbers. They're right there on the top of the page on israelnewstalkradio.com. You could call in and you could be part of the show. So you see all this stuff that you could do. Today, it's Hanukkah. So we have to talk about Maccabees. We have to talk about who do you consider a Maccabee today? Who would you say is a Maccabee? There are plenty of people who aren't Maccabees, and we'll talk a little bit about those people. But I want to know from you who you consider a Maccabee today. And why would you consider them a Maccabee? What did they do to warrant being called a Maccabee? I look around the world and I see many people who fight for the existence and for the continued existence of the Jewish people. And I see a lot of people who work against the continued existence of the Jewish people. And when I think about it, I think the people fighting for Judaism, people fighting for the Jewish people fighting for the state of Israel, would be Maccabees. That would be my definition of what a Maccabee is today. Now, you might disagree with me, and that's fine. It's okay to disagree with me. And if you disagree with me, please give me a call. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out if we could find a happy medium in between. But I think people fighting for the state of Israel, people fighting for Judaism, because those are two totally separate things to fight for, those people are Maccabees. And I think the people working against the state of Israel, people supporting BDS, people supporting the destruction of the state of Israel, would be the anti-Maccabee. I don't know. I haven't come up with a word to counter Maccabee. But I think those would be the people who aren't Maccabees in the world today. And many of them, unfortunately, are Jewish. So this is something we got to talk about, something I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you think. Who is a Maccabee today? Join me on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. I'm Howie Silbiger, your political hitman, right here on Israel News Talk Radio. You could join me in the chat room on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. You could call in. It is a talk show, and calling in would probably be a good thing. You could call in. The numbers are on the top of the page on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com, so just go to the top of the page, and you'll see the numbers there. And just under the numbers, you'll see a big orange button that says Chat Room, and that's where you would go to talk to me on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. All right, so we are talking, it is Hanukkah, we are talking about who is a Maccabee? Who do you consider a Maccabee? There were a couple suggestions. Tamara posted this up on her Facebook page, and there were a couple suggestions on the Facebook page. So let me share some of those with you. So a guy named Howard said, I know that this will sound maybe silly, but I'll go ahead and say it. Mark Levin should be the Maccabee today, always fighting for truth, justice, and Israel's right to exist in peace and tranquility. Mark, for those of you who don't know, Mark Levin is a radio and TV show host. He is excellent. He's an absolutely excellent host, and he's a lawyer. And when he goes and he talks and he does his show, he is talking the truth. He always speaks the truth. He's a big time Israel supporter. He's a big time Jewish supporter. He's also a big time Trump supporter. And I think I agree with Howard that he would be a Maccabee today. I agree. Now, Democrats, so-called Jews that spit on Israel like Bernie Sanders, Adam Schiff, and Nadler, are definitely not the Maccabees today. Actually, the opposite. I can't argue with that point either. When we see the anti-Israel, the BDS, and the anti-Israel people standing up there and fighting against the state of Israel, fighting for the destruction of the state of Israel, you have to wonder, and you really, really have to wonder, what are these people thinking? Why are they there? Why are Jews in the forefront of the anti-Israel movement? It's a mind-boggling question, and a question that that I'm posing out there. I don't have an answer to that question, but I'm posing the question because it's mind-boggling. If you have an answer, call in. Numbers are on the top of the page on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. Let's go to the call. Larry from Kansas. Hi, Larry.
Okay, you stole two of them from me who weren't Maccabees, and that would be Mr. Schiff and maybe Amy Klobuchar.
So, Larry, what are we going to call people who are anti-Maccabees, who are the opposite of Maccabees? What are we going to call them? I mean, we'll call the heroes the Maccabees.
It's more psychiatric than it is political. I can tell you that right now.
Okay.
Personally.
So what
the Maccabees, a couple that I could think of would be Dennis Prager, Mark Levin, David Horowitz, Ori Benny Davis, Ari Fold, and probably you.
Me? I wouldn't put myself in that category.
I would.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're telling the truth.
Well, I try. The truth the way I see it.
I think you do a heck of a job.
I would agree with you on all the points you made there. The anti-Maccabee crowd. Why do you think they're doing that? You say it's psychological, but why do you think that they would be standing at the forefront of supporting the destruction of the state of Israel? What do you think drives that?
I can't figure it out. It's just they're historically ill-informed, ill-advised, uninformed. I just don't know what it is. They all have formal education. We could throw Tom Steyer in that group of anti-Maccabees too, and maybe Bloomberg. He's willing to spend $50 million, and he's just throwing his money away, just like Tom Steyer is. Amazing. I don't know, it's recognition or something. I can't figure it out.
I always said if they want to get rid of that kind of money, they could always give it to me. I'll be more than happy to take it from them.
Absolutely.
Instead of wasting it on the media and everything else, give it to me. I'll take it, no problem.
Yeah.
Larry,
you know who might be a Maccabee, and maybe I'm not supposed to mention his name. Josh Hastings.
I don't know who that is.
He's a commentator and journalist and everything in Israel. Used to be on Arutz Sheva.
Okay.
Good guy, I think.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it. I don't know him. But I do agree with you. Dennis Prager, I spoke to Dennis Prager not long ago. And the interview I aired on the air was very different from the conversation we had off the air. And when I spoke to him off the air, he told me he's very frustrated sometimes with a lot of the media friends that he has, because he's been in media forever. A lot of the media friends that he has that are anti-Israel but have no reason to be anti-Israel. He said, if they had a valid reason, you could have an intellectual conversation with them, but there's no valid reason, he said. They're anti-Israel because that's the fashionable thing to be, is to be anti-Israel. So if everybody was pro-Israel, they'd be pro-Israel.
Somebody wanting to be fashionable would put that ahead of all their other values and their historical traditions and perhaps their religion, too.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? They do that, though.
Yeah, they do. They do. I said before, I don't think, I said it on somebody else's program, the Reformed crowd, I don't think has religion anymore. Their religion is hatred of Trump, America, American traditions, Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox. That's become their new religion, is hating those people. And that's another one I can't understand.
A few years ago, maybe a dozen years ago, I remember reading an article written by one of the leaders of the Reform movement who was saying that that he foresaw in the next 20, 25 years, so that was about a dozen years ago, so, next 10 years or so, that the Reform movement would separate itself from Judaism and form its own religion. Much like Christianity did hundreds of years ago, the Reform movement would do the same thing. Because the gulf between Judaism and what Reform believes in is becoming so great that it's almost not recognizable as a Jewish entity anymore. It's,
I watched them from Central Synagogue in New York sometimes, and different synagogues that stream.
Yeah,
and it's more like a social gathering or something. And a lot of people who want to play musical instruments are not really that good at it, but they have a captive audience, so they do it anyway.
Yeah.
It's not, to me, it's not a religion. It's more of a, I don't know, just a social gathering, maybe a network or something. I just, like I say, I'm nobody to even comment on it, but I can't figure it out either.
Yeah, it's to me, it's weird. To me, if you're committed to a religion and you're committed to a way of life, then follow that religion, follow that way of life. Do your best to follow the rules and the regulations that were handed down by God, because if you believe in a religion, you believe in God. If you want to go halfway, then what's the point? Like, why bother? That's really the question I have.
Well, that's kind of the way I see it. And do you think this thing we're talking about started with Moses Mendelssohn, or would you say Mordecai Kaplan and that? What did he call it? I can't even remember what his version of Judaism was.
Well, Moses,
Judaism is a civilization or something.
But I'm willing to wager, and I'm willing to bet that Moses Mendelssohn would be horrified to see what his modernization movement turned into. He called his movement the conservative movement.
I think you're right.
He called his movement the conservative movement because he wanted to conserve Judaism. He wanted to make it a little looser, a little less strict when it came to certain things, but he wanted to conserve Judaism in that basket. And the conservative movement today doesn't conserve anything. I mean, the conservative movement has thrown Judaism into the garbage can. So, I mean, I think he would be horrified. I beg your pardon?
And what about Rene Descartes and Baruch Spinoza?
What about them?
Can't figure them out either.
Well, Rene Descartes, he was an interesting guy. If you do research on Rene Descartes, I don't know if you ever looked him up and read about his life, but he was a really, really fascinating man.
Sure.
The only thing most people know about Rene Descartes is he said, "I think, therefore I am." That's his most famous quote. But he said a lot more, and he had a lot more thoughts than that, and he's very interesting. So people who are interested in this kind of thing should look up Rene Descartes. Definitely look up Rene Descartes. He's absolutely fascinating. Larry, thank you so much for calling. Appreciate it.
Okay, sure.
Thanks.
And I'll talk to you again. Thanks for taking the call, too.
Hey, anytime you call in, I will take the call. And unfortunately, we're running up against the clock. Thank you so much. Give me a call. In North America, 301-768-4841. In Israel, 02-6500-151. I'm Howie Silbiger. This is Political Hitman on Israel News Talk Radio. You could join me in the chat room, and we could have a conversation in the chat room by going to israelnewstalkradio.com and clicking on that big orange button that says chat room. And I'm there in the chat room. I'm there the entire show. We're asking the question. I'm asking the question. Who do you think is a Maccabee? Who today would be a Maccabee, and who would you consider an anti-Maccabee, the opposite of a Maccabee? Who would you consider today a Maccabee, and who would you consider the opposite of a Maccabee? So Tamar posted this up on her Facebook page just about an hour ago, and I'm looking at some of the answers that people put on the Facebook page. Dov Hinkind, one person said, and you know, Dov Hinkind is an interesting man. He's fascinating. He fights for Judaism. My connection with Dov Hinkind goes back quite a few years ago, when I did a radio series on sexual abuse in the Jewish community, and Dov Hinkind was exposing sexual molesters in the Jewish community at the time in New York. So the man has been fighting for justice, and he's been fighting for truth, and he's been fighting for Judaism, all with a kippah on his head. He never took his kippah off. He never took his yarmulke off. He's been wearing that forever. I consider him a Maccabee. I've always considered him a Maccabee. That is a great suggestion, and I really believe that Dov Hinkind's almost on the top of the list for me when it comes to who's a Maccabee today. Who do you think is a Maccabee? That's the question I'm asking you. I'd like you to give me a call in North America, 301-768-4841. In Israel, the number is 02-650-0151. You could join me, yes you can, in the chat room on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. Just go to that website. Just go to IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. Click on that big orange button that says chat room and join me in the chat room. I'm Howie Silbiger. This is Political Hitman right here on Israel News Talk Radio. I'm Howie Silbiger, your political hitman here on Israel News Talk Radio. You could join me in the chat room on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. Just go to the website, click on that big orange button that says chat room. On the top of the page on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com, you'll also find the phone numbers that you could call in and be part of the show. It is Hanukkah, so we're talking about Maccabees, and we're talking about who are the Maccabees of today. I will throw out a Maccabee today that I think is a real Maccabee. Tamar Yona. I know she's shaking her head now, and she's going to say, "Why'd you do that?" I think Tamar Yona is a Maccabee today. I think that what she's doing with Israel News Talk Radio, I think what she is, I think with what what she does on her show, and what she's done on her show, in all the years that she's been on the radio, whether it was on this station or on the other station, wherever she's been, what she's done on the radio, Tamar Yona is a Maccabee. So is Tovia Singer, by the way. That man is amazing. When he was on the radio, he was amazing. What he's doing now in fighting Christian missionaries is amazing work. These people are Maccabees. Without a doubt, hands down, Maccabees. Who do you think's a Maccabee? 301-768-4841, 0265-00151. If we're going to go with people who aren't around anymore, there's a suggestion on Tamar's page that Rabbi Meir Kahana is a Maccabee. And I think he's more of a Maccabee in the truer sense of the words Maccabee. Here is a man who physically took himself and put himself in physical harm's way to fight for the Jewish people. And for me, I think that's really a Maccabee thing to do. Irv Rubin would be another one who's not with us anymore, would also be a Maccabee. A man who stood physically to fight Jew haters, stood physically to fight for the state of Israel. These people are beyond the light Maccabees that we that I consider myself as. But these people are true Maccabees, people who put themselves in physical harm. People in the IDF, soldiers in the IDF, in the Israeli Defense Force, are Maccabees. Fighting every day, putting their lives on the line every single day for the protection of the people of Israel. Putting themselves second to the protection of their country and their people. Fighting for the land. Fighting for the people. These are Maccabees. And we don't appreciate our Maccabees. We really don't. I mean, individually we probably appreciate them, and collectively we probably say, oh, if you point that guy out, yeah, I agree, maybe, yeah, I appreciate him, right? But as a community, as a nation, do we actually really appreciate the people who put themselves out, people who put themselves on the front line and fight for the rights and for the existence and for the survival of the Jewish people? Do we actually appreciate these people? How many times have you gone up to somebody who is an activist, who stands in the front and puts their reputation on the line, sometimes puts their lives on the line to stand there for fighting for the Jewish people or fighting for the state of Israel? How many times have you gone up to somebody and said, thank you? Thank you for doing what you're doing. I know a lot of people who stand and fight for the state of Israel, who stand and fight for Judaism, who stand and fight, who never get thanked. They get condemned day in and day out by the Jewish communities, especially the ones in North America. So why would Jews condemn other Jews for standing up for the state of Israel? This was what I asked Larry before, the caller, Larry before. I said, why do you think these people stand against the state of Israel? Why do you think the leaders of the BDS movement, which is a movement that was designed to destroy Israel internally, where the Arabs couldn't destroy Israel externally, they tried to find an economic way to destroy Israel internally. And this was their way to do that. Why do you think that most of the leaders of this movement are Jews? Why do you think it's always the Jewish person who's on the front line of Jew hatred and Israel hatred? Why are there so many Jews who hate Judaism and hate Jews? I don't have an answer to that question. It's a question that has plagued me for years and years and years that I don't have an answer to. If you have a suggestion, give me a call. 301-768-4841. If you're in Israel, 0265-00151. It's a question that's plagued me. I have no idea why there is such inbred hatred for the state of Israel, for Jews and for Judaism amongst Jews. And why Jews stand in the forefront of these hate movements and these destroy Israel movements. And it's not from today. I mean, we could go back to Peace Now, and we could go back to 1948, go back before 1948. There have been Jew haters and Israel haters and Zionism haters from the beginning. What compels people to do this? What compels people to get up in the morning, get dressed, and go out and hate on their own people? These people are anti-Maccabees. They're the opposite of what a Maccabee should be. And they'll argue with me. They'll say, hey, Howie, what are you talking about? We work very hard to fight against the state of Israel. We should be given credit for that, and I give them full credit for that. If they're fighting with conviction, I give them full credit for fighting with conviction. I don't agree with what they're doing, definitely not. But if that's what they're doing with conviction, I give them full credit, but they're still not Maccabees. Because they are contributing to the destruction of the Jewish people, not the betterment, not the strength of the Jewish people. And if you contribute to the destruction of the Jewish people, if you contribute to organizations that hate Israel and the Jewish people, then I would even hesitate to include you in a discussion about Jews, because I refer to them as Jews in the forefront, but I would even hesitate. I would even take that back and say that these people have removed themselves from the Jewish people. We all make decisions in life. And some of the decisions we make have consequences, or should have. All the decisions we make should have consequences. And one of the consequences of standing against the Jewish people, standing with the enemies of the Jewish people, standing with the people who want to murder Jews, should be the removal of your removal from Judaism. That should be one of the consequences. Every decision you make should have a consequence. And when you stand against your people, you should be ousted. You should be ostracized. You should be removed from your people. People who go and stand with groups that commit terror against the Jewish people, that murder Jews, should not be considered Jewish. And that they are, and that some people, play on the fact that, our movement has Jewish supporters, so it's legitimacy. No. This should not be. And the people who stand with our murderers, people who stand with the people who want to commit genocide against us, should be ostracized, should be removed, and we should be very loud and very clear on saying these people are not Jewish. These people are not Jewish. These people want to kill Jews. These people want to destroy Jews. And people who want to kill and destroy Jews cannot be considered Jewish. And our pulpit leaders and our world leaders, our Jewish religious leaders should be getting up and talking about this. But they don't. They don't. They stay silent, and we hear nothing. And then all we hear from are the people who lead these groups that hate Jews and hate Israel. And they get up, and they're not afraid to talk. And they'll get up and they'll speak publicly, and they'll post up YouTube videos, and they'll speak even more publicly than that. And our people, the people who are supposed to be representing us, the people who are supposed to be our leadership, our religious leadership, our political leadership, they stay quiet, like lambs. Quiet. Silence, my friends, is acceptance. When you remain silent and you don't fight back, you're accepting the situation. This drives me every week to do a radio show. It drives me every week to be on the radio, to broadcast and to stand and to fight back, to scream and to yell. Because if nobody is screaming and yelling, then we have a big problem. If somebody's screaming and yelling, maybe somebody's listening. So I don't mind coming up here and putting my voice forward. And I thank Larry for considering me as a Maccabee. I don't consider myself a Maccabee. I'm just doing what our leadership should be doing and isn't doing. And I think it's wrong, and I think it's disgusting that we have leadership, we have Jewish leadership that sits back and does nothing while Jews are being attacked. They're being attacked on campuses. They're being attacked in the streets of New York. And the Jewish leadership, Jewish religious leadership is doing nothing. Apathy all the way. There's been 15, 20 attacks in New York City. Have you seen even one demonstration of Jews in the streets? One time the Jews went into the streets and said, hey, enough? Protest? Anything? Nothing at all. Nothing. Just silence. Just accepting. This is our fate. This is what we accept. We're not going to fight back. We're just going to accept it. So more Jews could get hurt. More Jews could get killed. More people could walk into supermarkets and shoot up a Jewish supermarket. It's disgusting. It's revolting. It's unacceptable. And we shouldn't be accepting this from our leadership. Ever. We shouldn't be accepting this from our community. We should be in the streets. We should be fighting back. We should be reclaiming our place. Don't accept this. Don't accept this. Speak to your leaders. I'm Howie Silbiger, political hitman, on Israel News Talk Radio. We'll be right back. I'm Howie Silbiger, your political hitman here on Israel News Talk Radio. You could join me in the chat room by going to IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com, clicking on that big orange button that says chat room. I'm there. And, of course, you could call into the show. Numbers are on the top of the page on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. Just go to the website. Numbers are there. Give us a call. Because I think I want to talk to you. And I think you want to talk to me. So give us a call. IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. So I was talking to Tamar before the show, and I mentioned to her that I've noticed a lot of people saying, Happy Hanukkah if you celebrate. And Tamar thought it was silly that I mentioned this, and I know it's silly, but that's always bothered me. That has always bothered me. That saying has always bothered me, if you celebrate. It just seems rude. It seems very rude. It's like saying, yeah, congratulations for those of you who want to be congratulated. For those of you who don't want to be congratulated, go to heck. It just seems wrong. So I really hate that saying. I mean, what's wrong with saying Happy Hanukkah? What's wrong with saying Happy Holidays or Merry whatever or whatever? What's wrong with actually saying the term to everybody? Is somebody going to get insulted because you wish them good tidings? If they do, then there's something mentally wrong with them. There's something seriously wrong with them. If you're giving somebody a kind greeting, and they get upset with you for giving them a kind greeting, then the problem's not with your kind greeting. The problem's with something with them, and I wouldn't worry too much about them. But to say for those who celebrate just seems exclusive. It seems to exclude everybody else. I mean, I like to be inclusive. I'm an inclusive kind of guy. So if I'm going to wish you a happy Hanukkah, and you're never going to hear me say happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate, not on this show, not ever. If I'm going to wish you a happy Hanukkah, I'm going to wish you a happy Hanukkah. because it's Hanukkah. It's a happy Hanukkah. Now, if you celebrate it, you don't celebrate it, it's irrelevant to me. Happy Hanukkah anyway. Now, the one person that I really didn't think would be sending a Hanukkah greeting to her constituency was so-called, she calls herself a Palestinian, which of course we all know is a made-up term. She's a congresswoman. Her name is Rashida Tlaib. Now, Rashida Tlaib put out a happy Hanukkah greeting to her constituency on YouTube. And I watched this, and then I watched it again. And the first time I watched it, I started laughing. The second time I watched it, I laughed even harder. And then I watched it a third time, and I laughed even harder than that. So here's a woman who supports BDS, the destruction of the State of Israel, who refers to Israelis as occupiers, wishing her constituents, her Jewish constituents, a happy Jewish Liberation Day. A happy day that the Jews conquered Har HaBayit, the Temple Mount, and rededicated the temple on the Temple Mount. Happy day, that day. That's what she was wishing her constituents. So here's a woman who stands against Israel all the time, wishing her constituents a happy day of Jewish liberation. It's mind-blowing when you think about it. I don't think she even realized what she was doing. But Hanukkah would probably be the wrong holiday to wish a happy holiday to Jews if you are anti-Israel. Now, if we go back for, if we just roll back for a second or two, and think about this logically, the people who claim that Israel are occupiers of other people's lands, who now recognize, by wishing everyone a happy Hanukkah, they're recognizing the Jewish legitimacy to the land, that the Jews were expelled and they came back and they rededicated their temple, and this is their land. Shouldn't she be called on now to reverse her stance on Israel and to accept Israel as a state and to support Israel? I mean, she already supported the Jewish liberation of Israel, so shouldn't she support Israel now? Shouldn't somebody be pushing her to do that, since she wished everybody a happy Hanukkah? But she, like a lot of other people, mistake Hanukkah as the same kind of holiday as the Christian holiday that occurs at this time of year. She mistakes Hanukkah for the same kind of holiday. And it's totally different. The Christian holiday is one thing, and it's totally separate from Hanukkah. They just happen to follow at the same time of year. So Jews who were jealous of Christians started buying presents for their kids, and it became a big commercial thing. But that's not really the essence of Hanukkah. The essence of Hanukkah, if we understand Hanukkah the way we're supposed to understand Hanukkah, the essence of Hanukkah is that we were oppressed by the Assyrian Greeks. They defiled the temple, which stood on the Temple Mount just above the Western Wall. And the Maccabees fought the Assyrian Greeks, won the war, and rededicated the temple. reclaimed the Jewish land. That is the story of the Maccabees. That is the story of Hanukkah. And that is the miracle of Hanukkah. Now, the miracle of Hanukkah was that they had they put up the menorah in the temple, but they didn't have enough sanctified oil in order to last a full week. So they had for one day, it lasted a week, and that was the miracle of Hanukkah. But the miracle of Hanukkah goes even farther than that. Because after the Maccabees, the Jews were again expelled from Israel, and yet again put into the diaspora, and yet again persecuted in every country that they were put into in the diaspora, and survived. Judaism still exists today. Jews are still around today. I'm talking to you on a Jewish radio station. Jews survived and prospered and were strong and control much of the industries, of the brain industries in the world. Science, medicine, mathematics. Jews are on the top of these fields. So for all the Assyrian Greeks that wanted to destroy Israel and destroy Jewish people, for all the Hitlers, and for all the Mussolinis, and for all the murderers that wanted to kill Jews, Jews survived. They're gone. The Jews are still here. And why is that? How did the Jews survive all of it? All the torture, all the murders, the ovens. How do we survive? There's only one answer to that question, and the answer is quite simple. Through the grace of God. God's hand led us through all these horrific times. Everything in the world is created by God, and God sends messages to his people. He expects us to follow our religion. He expects us to follow the lifestyle that he handed down to us. And when we stray, like every good father, God slaps us. Now, when he slaps us, it hurts. It hurts a lot sometimes. But sometimes that hurt, that sting, puts us back in the right direction. Sometimes a slap is what's needed to correct bad behavior. Now, I know slapping your children is out these days. You know, all these butterfly lefties hate the fact that that a little punch, a little slap, to a corrective slap. They hate that, and they call that child abuse. It's not, but that's what they call it. But God sometimes has to slap us. And when God slaps us, and we listen, good things happen. So God slapped us and we listened. The state of Israel was recaptured. Jews returned to their ancestral homelands. The indigenous people of the state of Israel returned to their indigenous lands. God slapped us again. Another wars, more wars. The Jewish people listened and recaptured the holiest city of Jerusalem and the Temple Mount. And then an anti-Maccabee, a man who did the exact opposite of what the Maccabees did, handed the Temple Mount to our enemies. And that's where we stand today. It's really sad and really, really, really not a good situation. But hopefully, the next couple of weeks, next couple of days, next couple of hours, Messiah will come and we'll all be redeemed. Because we can't take any more slaps. We're through with slapping. We're through with corrective behavior. We understand what we have to do. We understand that we have to be the light on the nation. We understand that. We understand that our mission is to be the example to the world. And we continue to do that. We work hard on that. And unlike the Christians that want to gather the Jews in Israel to face the ultimate Armageddon, unlike them, the Jews want to gather into Israel and gather all the Jews into Israel to celebrate the coming of the Messiah and the redemption of the world. I'm Howie Silbiger. This is Political Hitman on Israel News Talk Radio. I want to thank you all for listening, and I want to wish you all a very happy Hanukkah. And I hope that this year, the strength of the Maccabees will descend into you, and you will fight for Judaism, for Israel, and for the Jewish people. Have a great week.